Good morning, one and all. Hope you're making the most of this prayer week. Don't forget that you can interact with what's going on, whether it's commenting on these videos, connecting with us at the church as we meet for prayer each day at 10 a.m. If you need to email us, newark@salvationarmy.org.uk, or you can message me on 07551 855 996. WhatsApp, text, whatever it is. That's my work phone. Send me a message and we'll make sure that we'll be praying for you, whether it's today at 10 a.m. or in a couple of days still yet to happen. Please do share with us. Sharing in prayer is such a powerful tool that we have, and it builds up his church. So please join in whichever way is most helpful for you this week. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been talking to someone and either you can't remember their name, or worse, you have absolutely no idea who they are? Now, I'm going to guess that we've all been in those situations, and that moment where you're kind of thinking, I need not to show that on my face that I have no idea who you are. Over Christmas this year, someone in fact did say to me, we met you 4 years ago before COVID, and this is the first time we've been back in the building. We did speak to you and we gave you a donation. I'm like, I have to confess, I have no recollection. I don't know who they were, but then talking to them, some of the information sounded familiar. You feel awkward, don't you? And we can feel embarrassed by that as well. Maybe you come away thinking, I hope they wonder what they think of me. All those kind of feelings and all those kind of thoughts when we don't recognise the person who is talking to us. In our scripture today is about just such an incident, and we're in good company with the disciples. We read this story from Luke 24, verse 13 to 35, of the disciples' walk to Emmaus. Here it is. Now that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. This is post-resurrection. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus." He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all that the prophets had spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he were going on further. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and open the scriptures to us. They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them, assembled together and saying, "It is true, the Lord has risen and has appeared to Simon." Then the two told them what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. There's a lot to unpack in that story, so much. And we can only got time this morning just to concentrate on one aspect. Go and read it for yourself. Allow God to speak as Jesus spoke to those disciples. Allow God to speak to you in these moments. But for us this morning, in the context of our prayer week, we are going to focus on having open eyes of faith to what is going on. These two disciples, people that knew Jesus, that had spent a lot of time with Jesus and heard about the resurrection firsthand on that very day, were heading away from the place where it all happened. There's no accident that they describe Emmaus as 7 miles away to give us an indication of where the disciples were trying to get to, walking on that journey to get away from the place which they felt disappointed. To add to that, they didn't realise, they did not even recognise the one who was talking to them, the one who was right next to them. They even ask him questions about, how does he not know what they were talking about? Has he not heard the news that had been going on over the weekend? Why, you may ask? Why did Jesus not reveal himself? Why were they blinded? Why did they not see who he was right next to them? I would suggest that there may be many reasons for this. My suggestions this morning would be that they are blinded either by their grief, so kind of disempowering was their grief on their life that it says they kept their heads down, they didn't look up to see who it was. Feeling let down, that actually they'd put their faith in this man who said something would happen and it didn't. Well, not the way they thought it might anyway. Or maybe they just had a complete lack of faith that what they had heard wasn't real. They'd heard that the Messiah, Jesus, had been risen from the dead, but they weren't believers. Maybe all three, maybe some of them, maybe other reasons. For us, things happen in our life that have a similar effect on our faith and our relationship and our walk with Jesus. The world is a very crowded place, from smartphones to 24-hour media to algorithms that try and make us buy stuff that we didn't know we even needed. But the more challenging things are maybe those things that we choose to put between us and God. Let's not try and blame other people for that. We can become so preoccupied with what we are missing, what we want, and that we can forget that Jesus is right next to us, that he is with us, walking on the path that we walk. He's trying to get our attention. He's waiting for us to have the faith to see him. He is there. Where are we? The beauty of this story is that Jesus remains with them and so remains with us in these moments of blindness and moments of doubt. He doesn't hide himself from us, but requires us to have open eyes of faith in our daily walk with him. So today, I pray for each one of us that we will have eyes that are open to what God is doing, that we will see the Jesus who walks next to those disciples and walks next to us in all that we do, and that we will challenge ourselves to take down those things that maybe hamper or even stop our relationship with him. That may not be an easy thing for you, but I pray that you will have the strength to do it, to walk in faith with eyes open and see the Jesus standing right next to you in all that you do, in everywhere that you go. May God be with you in the person of Jesus Christ.